I know we always say that we are so tired of sequels, nobody wants to play a sequel anymore. Well, you're lying. We are all lying. I've seen the sales numbers. Sequels sell so much better than any sort of original video game. And I know what you're saying to yourself. Well, PUBG sold a lot and it's not a sequel, it's a sequel. You ever play H1Z1? It's a sequel. Everything's a sequel these days. So let's have more of them. These are the top 7 sequels that need to happen. Sequels to video games that, well, let's face it, they're probably not gonna get a sequel. I mean, no chance whatsoever. Hell will freeze over and people on the internet will realize that maybe there is more to this thing called the web than just getting angry at things that are not worth the effort before these games will get sequels. But they should, and here's why. Number 7. Arx Fatalis. This was the game that really put Arcane Studios on the map, probably because it was their first one, but also because it was a really good game. One that sort of immersed you in its world so much, because it was an immersive sim and all, that you felt you wanted more of it. You wanted to know more about why exactly is the sun dimming? What planet exploded? What are all the other underground cities doing? What's life there like? I want to know more, and this would work as a sequel. You exploring other underground cities in Arx. Maybe not a lot of them. Let's say have 3 of them, each with their own kind of ideology and ecology that are far enough apart so that traveling between them will be a harsh and treacherous journey that you will need to prepare for, and have them, tie together in some plot that's about, I don't know, making a new sun or clearing out the debris from the space around the planet by making these 3 underground cities form some gigantic type laser thing. Have a god involved because you're playing as an emissary of a god in the first one. There's a lot of potential here. And it's a sequel that Bethesda would want to make. I mean, it's an immersive sim. People like those. It'll be like Skyrim, but better and underground partially. And you kind of get the sense that if Underworld Ascendant does take off and sort of spearheads a new interest in this kind of game, the same way that The Legend of Grimrock did with the first-person dungeon crawling thingamabob, then, well, a lot of people are going to try and make games like this, and Bethesda has the IP already, has the people that work on the original, has the money, has the tech, has everything possible to make this thing happen. So Arx Fatalis 2, it's a no-brainer. It should happen. Again, probably won't, but still, I really want to see it one day. Number 6. Crimson Skies. Now, I know that Crimson Skies did get a sequel, but it wasn't on PC, and, well, it's not the kind of sequel I actually want to see from the series. Well, I would love it to be another just mission by mission type of game with trolling, dogfights, and aerial acrobatics. More can be done here. Just imagine Harebrained Schemes making a sequel to Crimson Skies. Well, technically, it doesn't even need to be a sequel, it just has to be in the Crimson Skies universe, because it's an adaptation of a board game. Imagine them doing kind of the same thing they did with Battletech, but instead of a turn-based tactics XCOM ripoff, where ballistics don't really matter, screw reality, let the laser hit the ground at such an angle that it will require it to break the laws of physics. Instead of that, flight game. Yeah, it'll be a bit of a stretch because Harebrained Schemes doesn't really have the, how should I put it, track record for ever making a flight game. And it would need to be like a really fun arcadey type, but not super duper arcadey flight game to actually work. I want to have all the meta structure of hiring pilots, getting better equipment, contracts. Well, maybe not a lot of contracts. I want it to be more focused on air piracy than anything else. But imagine all that structure that Battletech had, but at the core of it, like the bit you actually get to play isn't a turn-based tactics game, it's Crimson Skies. That'd be amazing. And I'm probably gonna keep telling the people at Paradox that this is amazing because they own Harebrained Schemes now, and Harebrained, I believe, got the license from Microsoft, or at least licensed the license, so it'll be able to maybe relicense it to Paradox so they can use it to make Crimson Skies again. At least that's my hope. My vain, so very, very pointless hope. Number 5. Magic the Gathering Chandalar. I'm just gonna go out and say it. Every Magic the Gathering PC game is crap compared to Chandalar. they're all just the same thing. It's you playing against another human opponent or against an AI that's meant to substitute a human. There's nothing there that really warrants the kind of sequels we've gotten, well, not sequels, but adaptations we've gotten in the past couple of decades. We already have Magic the Gathering Online, which, if it had an actual proper working interface, would probably be amazing to play day after day non-stop, like Hearthstone is. And I think Stainless made like 5 billion single-player ones where you can, I don't know, pretend you didn't pay 20, 30 something bucks just because this newer one has more cards, which you'd think would be just DLC or updates. Let's face it, those games really undersell Magic the Gathering big time. They do not dream. But on the good part, they also don't go into the direction of dreaming a bit wrong by making Magic the Gathering a turn-based tactics game or a real-time summoning game that's... What was that thing called? Duel Wizards or something? Wizard Duels? It wasn't very good, was it? But you know what was good? Chandalar was. Chandalar was superb. Chandalar was an open-world deck building, fighting, questing, get food to not starve, exploration, save the world from the Wizards game. Not Wizards of the Coast, though at this point maybe it could be that. It was an exceptional game. It was about you actually being a planeswalker and using the cards to summon creatures to fight your battles for you, but it'll happen in the context of just a Magic the Gathering game, as in a round of Magic the Gathering, where you would be playing with the cards. It worked fantastically. A sequel to that needs to happen, you know, with all the cards. All of them, yeah, absolutely all of them. Have the world be again procedurally generated. Just make a Magic the Gathering game that's more interesting to play, even if you're not in it just for, I don't know, Hearthstone being down or not having anybody to play Magic the Gathering with in real life. It'll be a good vehicle to sell people on the idea of the world of Magic the Gathering, because there's so much lore there. There's so much of it. So many characters. You get a glimpse of it in the cards, but there's mountains, decades of it. And you could tell all of that in a game that plays mostly just like Magic the Gathering Chandalar. So do it. Number 4. Arcanum 2. Journey to the Center of Arcanum. This was actually the sequel. And I mean, they were gonna make it. Arcanum 2. Journey to the Center of Arcanum. Like Arcanum 1 was steampunk and Tesla punk a bit, this was gonna be Jules Verne, Journey to the Center of the Earth, but you know, it's Arcanum, with all the crazy Arcanum stuff in it, with the magic of Arcanum, with everything that Arcanum had, only this one was going to be first person, and would have probably had better combat, since it was going to be made on something like the Source engine, because, you know, they already had the engine for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, so why not reuse it, this time in a finished version. Now again, this is one of those sequels that's never gonna happen, because Activision kind of owns the license to Arcanum right now, I think, and it would kind of be in the same vein as Arx Fatalis, with the underground theme and the magic and the fact that it's made by people that actually know how to design games, but it's a sequel that absolutely needs to happen. Number 3. Sim Golf 2. I think I may have said this in the Sim Golf video as well, but that game was like crack. At least I assume it was. I've never tried the thing. The substance, I mean the game, I've tried it. The game was so... it was simple, it was kind of stupid, it was kind of, at some points, not really all that great, but the sheer combination of you being able to build a resort with golf holes that you then got to play with a character that gains skills and abilities depending on how well you did, and gain money from the championships you participated in, that I wouldn't say made it an infinitely replayable game, but it did give it a longevity and a level of attraction of sheer I want to play more of this in us, that kind of really begs for a sequel, like a proper sequel. Sim Golf 2, with or without Sid Meier, it's okay, we don't care. This time with 3D graphics maybe, with still mechanics for the actual playing of the golf, not all that involved, because if they are more involved, then it's more down to your personal skill than that of the character you're playing. Also, it'll make it a lot easier to play on stuff like mobile and tablets. My god, a sequel to Sim Golf working on tablets would absolutely be murder. I mean, it will cause riots for people trying to rush to the... Okay, you don't go to stores to buy tablet games, you go to an online. It would cause systems to fail. And there's really not much you need to do to improve it. Maybe add some perks to the characters that improve or affect their performance, more buildings, more locations, again 3D graphics maybe, well, not even 3D graphics, just make it look like it used to, but you know, higher res. Maybe ditch the angle with the characters having stories, replace with something better like them forming relationships that will result in them being enemies with you or friends with you. Maybe have gangs of golfers fighting it out in tournaments like in all those movies made in America in the 80s. It'd be fantastic. It needs to happen. Number 2, SWAT 5. This would absolutely be a bestseller today. Now, here's my argument. Rainbow Six Siege has, at this current moment, more players than you think would be interested in playing Rainbow Six Siege. And yet, it only offers half of the tactical depth that SWAT did. As a competitive game, that offered you a few more options in terms of how you could deal with things. For example, there were doors in SWAT. There aren't any in Rainbow Six because, you know, somebody blew them all off. What SWAT 5 needs to do to be successful is basically just be SWAT 4 with a control scheme that's a bit more bearable. You know, have a radial control instead of those lists, have weapons and items be better distributed on the control scheme, have kind of the same kind of single player campaign where you can go from mission to mission, and depending on how good of a cop you are, not how good of a murderer you are, you get points and I don't know, maybe access to, well, no, it wouldn't make sense to give you access to better gear because you're a cop. You have that gear to do your job the best you can, not some sort of reward like this is Counter-Strike or something. And then have the competitive multiplayer part where you play against teams of other people that you have to take down either with deadly force or in non-lethal means. Non-lethality is one of the most important aspects of SWAT because, again, you're a cop. You aren't supposed to kill everybody. You're supposed to arrest people. But, you know, with more balancing that SWAT 4 had and servers that are not dependent on GameSpy and in general, more methodic than the Rainbow Six Siege is. So, even one step further removed from Counter-Strike. Now, I know it's not going to be a super duper exquisite system seller or something. It's not going to sell in the bajillions of copies, but it'll be a breath of fresh air, especially if it's made by a studio that actually has the budget to do it and not given to, I don't know, the people that made Red Saber Task Force something or other, the one that had the AI so dumb that it shot itself in the face. To be fair, those people didn't really have enough budget to actually pull it off. Also, since this is owned by Activision, I think, it would be a nice thing to slot in between Call of Duty games when you get tired of them not selling. Oh my king, they'll always sell no matter what you do with them. They will always sell. And number 1 is Anachronox 2. Now, here's my argument for Anachronox 2 being made right now. 1. The first game ended with a cliffhanger, so the story needs to be continued. The story needs to be told, it needs to end. Number 2, it is a weird-ass RPG. A weird-ass space RPG. Like, imagine Mass Effect, but more than singing I am the very model of a scientist Solarian was the most normal thing in the game. Imagine traveling through a universe that's so kooky and strange and bizarre and, well, technically, I actually don't know if it would take place in the universe is strange and cooking bizarre because at the end of Anachronox, they all go through the portal to the other place, which I think was the past. Yeah, it was definitely the past. So you get to see even more strange and kooky things. The important thing is it will be a really weird game. Let's face it, we don't really have enough weird games around right now. Not in the RPG, well, not in necessarily open world, but not necessarily in the genre. Not like this. Most of the games in this vicinity tend to be, more serious, try to be a bit more mature, usually veer off heavily into grim, dark, and moody, and angsty, or really preachy, stupidly preachy, with so much symbolism shoved up their windpipe that it kind of makes you think that anything that was good in this series ever was a mistake. Whereas in Necronox, you play as a detective that's partnered with a robot and a former assassin and a superhero called Paco El Puño Estrella and the planet and some old guy that kills people by talking to them too much and a scientist that, well, she didn't blow up the world. She only detected it. We need that weird. We need it badly. Very, very badly. Well, that'll be it for the top 7 sequels that need to happen. If you've got your own suggestions, make sure to mention them in the comments. I'm gonna give one final special mention to Ultrabots 2. Because yeah, Mech Warrior is nice and all, but you know what's better? Controlling multiple robots at the same time and being able to switch between them as if it were a real-time tactics game, but you're actually playing a mech sim with each individual robot when jumping between them. Goodbye.